taking San Francisco veterans report for training camp on July 25th at SAP Performance Facility in Santa Clara as the 49ers will work on building off a season-ending 5-game win streak with the hope of getting out of the NFC West basement for the first time since 2014. We'll take a look at their roster and key off-season moves as we preview training camp for the San Francisco 49ers by going one-on-one with Joe Fan, senior reporter for 49ers.com, on the OFN Meeting Room with Greg DePalma. It's Monday, July 9th, 2018. I'm Greg DePalma. Thanks for tuning into the OFN Meeting Room as we preview NFL training camps for the 2018 season. And it's a new week, a new day, a new team. San Francisco and senior reporter for 49ers.com, Joe Fan, joins us. Joe, thanks for helping us talk San Francisco 49ers football.
Not a problem. I appreciate you asking me to do it, and very much happy to.
I appreciate it, Joe. So very different feeling, as I mentioned, even though this team has been in the basement the last 3 years. It's got to be a much different feeling, not only after the win streak and Jimmy Garoppolo taking over, but first time, very interesting, first time that the Niners organization has the same head coach back since 2014. So that makes that continuity a little bit better as far as training camp.
Yeah, continuity is huge in any sport and really in any company for that matter.
Yeah.
Whatever industry you go to, continuity is huge. It allows you to take steps forward from what you've done previously. And so, I think this team is very excited about where they finished last year. Obviously the 5-0 record down the stretch, everyone felt something there. That felt real to a lot of people. I don't think that, anyone in the building is thinking that was fool's gold. And, I don't think, by the same token, people aren't expecting it to come easy in 2018, but there's an expectation that this team is going to be relevant again.
All right. How has the reaction been? I would think pretty good with someone who had no experience running any organization before, John Lynch.
Yeah, you talk to John Lynch or hear him talk for 5 minutes, and he's immediately a guy you want to follow. He's an incredible leader. He's one of those guys that you're never going to hear a bad word about, whether it's former coaches, former teammates, what have you. And you know what? I think what did John Lynch the biggest favor in coming here is when he took the job, he said quite simply, I know what I know, and I know what I don't know. And I think that takes, in an industry of egos and wanting to be the smartest man in the room.
That's right.
I think it's incredibly important for a man who's never done the job before to understand that he doesn't know everything, and that's okay because he hasn't done it before. So 24 hours in, he hires Adam Peters, one of the most heralded young executives, front office members in the league away from his buddy John Elway from the Denver Broncos. Then it brings in Martin Mayhew, who's also been a huge factor behind the scenes, a guy who's been a GM before in this league with the Detroit Lions.
Yep.
And so he's surrounding himself with this brain trust to say that, I know where my deficiencies are, and I'm going to find the people that can help fill those voids. And I think hats off to him for being able to put his ego aside, and make those decisions. And at the same time, he said, I also believe in my football acumen. I've been away from the game. I've been in, broadcast meetings every weekend, talking to head coaches, coordinators, star players in this league, gleaning a lot of information from all of them. And so, he was one of the most prepared broadcasters, one of the best broadcasters on air for a reason. And I think he's been a successful GM so far for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it certainly appears that way, and you got to find your franchise quarterback. He was able to take advantage of whatever you want to call it regarding the powers that be at New England. And Garoppolo, very successful, of course. That's an obvious statement, and a lot to talk about there, I'm sure, between now and this season, whether or not they can pick up where they left off. But there are still some things that Jimmy has to do to get better. What are they?
Yeah, I think, a number of things. I think, one, it's just a mastery of Kyle Shanahan's offense. I think last year, they were giving him an expedited game plan of, hey, we need you to do X, Y, and Z, but we don't even have time to teach you why you're doing these things yet. We just need you to do them. And he did them, to his credit, at an incredibly high level. And then, so I think that's what this offense is, or this offseason has been huge for him, being really able to understand the whys of, what Kyle Shanahan's thinking in particular points of the offense and what he's looking to accomplish. And so that should be big going into the season. And I think a lot of fans are hoping to see more of the deep ball. I think Jimmy was so good. Drop back, get rid of it, find Trent Taylor on quick slants, find your tight ends. There were some deep intermediate passes, but nothing, those downfield bombs. There wasn't much of that. And I think when you have a guy like Marquise Goodwin on the outside and his speed, you want to see those connect a little bit. So, I think, that was where, if you polled 49ers fans where they'd like to see Jimmy improve in 2018, that would probably be where a majority of people cast their votes.
Okay, and then it looks like also they're pretty set for a few years now at the backup spot, too, with C.J. Beathard. This is a 2-quarterback team?
Yeah, that's the way I would envision it. And
okay.
I don't, Kyle Shanahan was comfortable enough letting go of Matt Barkley last year.
Yep.
Immediately giving C.J. Beathard that number 2 job. And so if that was the case last year, I can't imagine any reason why you'd use a roster spot on a third quarterback.
All right, let's go to running back, and Carlos Hyde is gone. Jerick McKinnon took advantage of Dalvin Cook's injury and a nice contract in the offseason and finally broke through and was very productive for the Vikings last year. So a nice get for San Francisco. Matt Breida, who was, I thought he could have been drafted last year, and talked about him as one of my sleepers as far as rookie free agents last year, and he definitely proved that, making the team and getting a lot of opportunity to showcase his skills. Joseph Williams comes back, and then one of the top fullbacks in the NFL in Juszczyk. So this is a pretty exciting young group, it looks like, and especially it looks like it's got some more with McKinnon there, an opportunity for more game-breaking skill, and then we'll see if Joseph Williams can stay healthy.
Yeah, multi-talented, multifaceted, very athletic, very fast. There's so much speed in the backfield, really on this offense in general, but especially the running back position. Breida and Jerick McKinnon were college teammates, so a fun reunion for them. They've really enjoyed kind of this, this potential of being a 1-2 punch here in San Francisco, and I think that's what they expect it to be. I think that's what the team expects it to be. Joe Williams is fighting an uphill battle for a role on Sundays. Given how good Matt Breida was last year, and given Jerick McKinnon's contract, and I think when you look at Jerick McKinnon, Kyle Shanahan, at least right now, has certainly earned the benefit of the doubt of targeting guys that he thinks are perfect fits in his offense. So I think for me, for all intents and purposes, you can throw out anything that McKinnon has done in years past and say, okay, what's Kyle Shanahan going to do with him now?
Yeah.
He likes the kid. He likes the athletic profile. He likes the skill set. And obviously he's got a very specific plan for what he expects from Jerick McKinnon, how he's going to use him in his offense.
Well, how do you think? Because even last year, it wasn't like McKinnon has ever so far in the league been like he's not a bell cow back, or at least he hasn't been used that way. So how do you think he is going to be used, and Breida as well? Would it surprise anybody if Breida actually had just as many rush attempts as McKinnon? How do you think that's going to work out?
Yeah, I would still expect McKinnon to have more touches. I think it could definitely go with game flow, though. I mean, if Breida's cooking, then I think you might, give him an opportunity to get some extra touches. But, specifically in the run game, I'm not, I don't know how Kyle Shanahan expects to use him, but I think he believes in him as a running back. This isn't just a gadget player or a guy you're only going to use as a pass catcher. That being said, I think he's going to catch a ton of passes. I think Carlos Hyde caught 60 passes last year?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
The floor is incredibly low for how many passes, the floor is incredibly high, pardon me, for how many passes Jerick McKinnon is going to catch, this upcoming season. But, I think Kyle Shanahan wouldn't have brought him here if he didn't believe in him as a runner as well. I think we'll see that, often. But I think it will be, a multi-pronged attack. It's not just going to be one guy, and I think that's how Kyle Shanahan wants it. There were games last year where Matt Breida out-touched Carlos Hyde because he was just the more effective back in that specific game. And so, I don't think anybody is overly concerned about, I think the term bell cow is, not a thing of the past, but there's just not many guys out there that can do it. There's not that many Leonard Fournettes out there or David Johnsons or what have you. So, I think they're excited about the potential of what those guys can bring.
All right, now let's move on to tight end. And George Kittle, he wound up as the number one tight end last year by a little bit over Garrett Selleck as far as percentage of snaps, but he more than doubled in receptions. So Kittle has become the number one tight end, and no reason to think he ain't going to get better, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think he's got a very intriguing skill set. I mean, and the toughness that he exhibited last year. He was never healthy. He was never right. Couldn't get his hamstring right during training camp. Rolled his ankle midway through last year. Played through it. Where it was super hard for him to plant and get through, but he found a way. So there's that Iowa toughness. I think that you get when you draft a player out of that program.
Right.
But man, this guy loves to block, loves to hit people, but is also has speed that's a little bit rare for a tight end and has great hands. And so I think they expect him and are counting on him to be, one, a downfield threat, but two, a big option in the red zone as well.
Yeah, that's what you like about McKinnon and Kittle and Juszczyk is they've got guys that, especially Juszczyk and Kittle, who can do both. They can block and they can go out and become a part of the passing game. And especially if McKinnon's running around, it's going to make things very difficult for defensive coordinators and give Jimmy an opportunity to decide, okay, where's my best matchup and take advantage of it. What about the receiving unit? Because it looks to be pretty much the same as last year with the exception of the two rookies, including Dante Pettis, who we would imagine is going to get an awful lot of opportunities to return kicks. He's the NCAA record holder with 9 punt return touchdowns over his career. James is also someone that I would assume is going to try to latch on as a kick returner as a late-round draft pick. But is this just all about continuity and making sure that what they saw last year, it seemed to work, and it just continues to work with another off-season workouts?
Yeah, I would imagine, you're going to see Trent Taylor out of the slot, permitting his health. He's had a back issue that he's been trying to get right.
Okay.
So hopefully he'll be good to go by August. But, such a good year for him out of the slot. One of the best, I think, dependable third down guys immediately as a rookie that you're going to find in the NFL. I think, Pro Football Focus put out some stat about how he was one of, the best or most reliable receivers on, just slant routes in the NFL. So he should be there. Won't get tons of reps. Then Pierre Garçon, he's back healthy from the neck injury that cost him half of last year. And then Marquise Goodwin, I think people around the NFL really saw a breakout from him. Having a quarterback that can deliver the mail on a continuous basis, consistent basis, did wonders for him. And so I would expect those three to be the focal point. And then you have guys like Kendrick Bourne and Dante Pettis fighting for reps when guys need a breather. And all three of those guys, or both those guys, I should say, are being trained at multiple spots. So, right when Dante Pettis was drafted, everyone's like, oh, he's a slot guy. Well, he's not being used like that here. I mean, he'll get some reps out of the slot, but he's also being, split wide as well. And I talked to Mike LaFleur a little bit, the wide receivers coach here. He said, we believe in this kid. We believe in his football IQ, and we're putting more on his plate right now than we normally would a rookie wide receiver. So I think that's a good indicator of their belief in Pettis. Obviously, they traded up to get him in the second round, surprised some people. So clearly, he's a guy they've always been keen on. So don't be surprised to see him used in a multitude of ways, and as opposed to specifically taking one guy's spot, if you will.
All right, and I guess Trent Taylor is going to try to be to Jimmy Garoppolo to what like Julian Edelman was to Tom Brady, right? That's how that's going to work? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, that's because that rings familiar with Taylor being a guy. I remember him in college. Of course, he had a lot of receptions in college, and you just wondered, but is he, does he have the size and ability at the next level? But he definitely seems like he's in the perfect offense with the perfect quarterback. So definitely an under-the-radar player to keep an eye on for years to come. Let's talk about the offensive line and two new faces, Rich Berg at center and McGlinchey at right tackle. What's the situation at right guard? Is that right now completely wide open?
Yeah, I would assume so. I think that's the one spot on the offense where I think you really, you put a question mark next to that one. So
okay.
It could be Joshua Garnett, first round pick from a couple of years ago, who missed all of last year with a knee injury. Then Jonathan Cooper, formerly with the Cardinals and then most recently the Cowboys. He had knee injury as well, so he was out the whole time during the offseason program. But I imagine it's those two guys who are going to be battling it out for that spot.
And Garnett is no, he didn't play last year, but he didn't have the rookie year that he would have liked. So is there anything that you've seen or heard that leads you to believe that he is a different player? Was it a scheme thing? And anything there for people to get optimistic that he's going to live up to his potential?
I mean, you hear. I mean, he's in great shape. He's worked his tail off. He's done everything under his power, to get right and be a dependable player. But you just have no idea until you put the pads on
Sure.
in August. It's way too early to even suggest that he's a different guy. He says he feels good. He says he feels confident. So you take that for what it's worth in terms of your optimism there. But I think beyond that, I don't think there's any rush to decide who he is or isn't.
Okay. And by the way, a couple of rookie free agents. Do you think either Coleman Shelton or Jamar McGloster have a shot to make the team?
Yeah, I mean, potentially. I think the offensive line is always one of those most difficult positions to project. It's probably far too early at this point, but I would say definitely an uphill battle.
All right, let's go over to the defense and on the defensive line. And first of all, I do want to mention that everybody talks about Jimmy Garoppolo and Kyle Shanahan, and that's what they talk about with the Niners. But what about the defense? Nobody seems to talk too much about the defense, but that's what you have to do if the defense is. You can't just be all offense. So, what do you think about what you've seen so far from the defense, and whether it's personnel or coaching?
Yeah, I think everyone's really bullish on the group. I think Robert Saleh is confident his guys are going to make the leap. I think what you have at each level, you have really good football players. And so it's all about which young guy is going to take the next step, which young guy is going to go from, good and solid and dependable to, a playmaker and game-changing type talent. DeForest Buckner is certainly a guy who fits that bill. Only had 3 sacks in 2017, but he led the NFL in quarterback hits with like 19 or something. So that tells you need help from the edge. Well, they think that Cassius Marsh and then Jeremiah Tauchu, a guy they added to Los Angeles this offseason, has some potential there. There's some young, intriguing pieces in the secondary with Jaquiski Tart, who they just gave a contract extension to the strong safety. Adrian Colbert, a 7th-round pick last year, really emerged towards the end of last season as a hard-hitting presence at free safety. Then at corner, again, Akella Witherspoon, a guy who people were hard on, saying he's super, super soft, doesn't like to hit, he's going to be a bust out of Colorado, and all of a sudden he developed and flourished into a guy who now people are really excited about as a starting caliber NFL corner. You have Richard Sherman, don't know exactly the player he's going to be this year, still coming back from that torn Achilles, but I think what he adds, hopefully, as a player, but also just as, that figurehead at the top of the defense.
Sure.
This team has lacked that player who's been there before. And, you need a guy in there that expects a different level of focus, expects a different level of execution. And that guy is Richard Sherman. He's been there, knows exactly what it takes. I was talking to Jeff Hafley, DB's coach for the 49ers, and he was like, yeah, I ask him questions. Yeah, I'm trying to learn from him. This guy's been in the system longer than I've been in any defensive system that I've coached. And so it'd be silly of us to not, tap into, that bank of knowledge. I mean, this is an all-pro guy, one of the smartest guys in the NFL by all accounts. So his, contributions should be vast and of a wide variety.
Yeah, and if he does, then you would think, especially somebody of his caliber, will new location, young up and coming team, that he'll want to give it his all, and especially that first year. That's usually the case. And if, like you said, though, if he's healthy, that could
and he's financially inclined to give it his all. You know what I mean? I mean, he signed a deal that he's really banking on himself returning to form, and you know what? Like if he's willing to bet on himself.
Yep.
Give me that guy on my team. I want that kind of mindset going into it.
And what about the rookies in the secondary? Because there are some new faces out there that are trying to get in on the action. You got DJ Reed, you have Moore, you have Harris, but you also have an intriguing rookie free agent, Tavares McFadden. Surprised a lot of people. I mean, I remember talking about him before the season started last season and asking Dan Shanka, our top scout, of course, here at Our Lads, could he be, one of the top corners in the draft? That's what we were talking about at this time last year, and he didn't even get drafted. So what have you heard so far about whether or not there's an issue there, or if he could be a surprise?
I don't know what the issue is. I haven't heard any issue. I think everyone feels fortunate to have landed him for the reasons you just illustrated, and for those reasons, that's why he's the most high-profile undrafted free agent that a lot of people, if they're making their roster projections, would be penciling him in to the roster. I think he's definitely got a good chance. Again, like offensive line, corner is such a difficult position to make the roster because there's so many on the team already.
Sure.
And you really gotta flat out beat guys and win the job. Win those spots. So I think there's a lot of interesting names on the roster at that position. DJ Reed for sure is going to be on the roster. Obviously, higher draft pick. Same thing with Tarvarius Moore. But it's going to be for McFadden. It's going to be beating out guys like Tyvis Powell, beating out guys like Greg Maben, who had some good spots last year, played well in spurts for the 49ers. So definitely a chance, though. I think if you're going to put Vegas odds on, the undrafted free agent most likely to make the roster, I think it would for sure be McFadden.
Okay. Reuben Foster, what's his status? How long is he going to be out? And once he's back, everything feels good about him picking off where he left off. And also, by the way, speaking of the linebackers, what's Fred Warner's job going to be?
Yeah, Fred Warner's going to be the mic. He's been given the keys to communicate the defense really since day one. He's been very impressive, which is kind of what you expected. Everything you hear about Fred Warner, high IQ player, great person, incredible character, but also has he's huge. I mean, you walk by this guy now, he's a big boy. I mean, he's like 6'3". I mean, he looks like a house, and can run. He's got, experience from his days at BYU, playing in coverage. They're trying to teach him to play in the box a little bit more, but they're really excited about him. I had one conversation. They said if we could have gone in knowing that we could have got McGlinchey, Pettis, and Fred Warner in the first 3 picks, we would have been doing cartwheels, and that was the goal going in. And so they're really excited on him. Reuben Foster for sure. I mean, it's getting his head on straight and making sure he knows what's at stake. I'm not privy to those conversations, other than that they've happened, as John Lynch has alluded to.
Yeah.
But I think certainly the fact that he's only suspended 2 games is a gigantic win. And they expect him to be, immediately a Pro Bowl / All-Pro caliber player. As long as he can stay healthy. He struggled with shoulder stingers last year, and so it's all about proper technique for him. But this is a different cat now. I mean, he's a special player, special talent, and that's why they were feeling comfortable taking that risk at pick 31, trading back in to get him, because the upside is just so high. And the second he steps on the field last year, you just notice a difference. And so there's no reason to believe that he's not still expected to be a big part of 2018 and beyond.
Now, when Foster comes back and plays, Harold, this has got to be a make or break season for Harold. And then you got Smith coming back from the pectoral injury. So does Warner find a way again? Do you think he's going to wind up getting a ton of snaps even when Foster comes back?
Potentially.
Okay.
Again, we have a whole month about to play out all these competitions and figure out where the depth chart is.
Sure.
So, there's no point in saying anything for certain. But, yeah, absolutely. I think he's going to be afforded that opportunity 100%. He's playing Mike. Malcolm Smith plays Will. Fred Warner's biggest competition for snaps is going to be Brock Coyle, a veteran they brought back during the off season, who I think was better than people wanted to give him credit for.
Okay.
Just to be quite frank, I think he's a guy who super smart player, knows the defense like the back of his hand, makes sure that everyone's in the right spot, which is what you need out of a Mike linebacker before you even snap the football. You need a guy who can take care of those responsibilities.
Yep.
Brock Coyle does it well. So he'll be in the mix with Fred Warner. Eli Harold, you mentioned him. Actually, not at those positions at all. He's a Sam linebacker. So his responsibility is setting the edge on early downs. They might use him some at the Leo spot, pass rushing, on passing downs, but he's going to have to beat out Jeremiah Tauchu and Cassius Marsh for those reps. But I would expect Eli Harold to use again, another guy, people looked at him as a pass rusher out of Virginia. Sack numbers haven't been there.
Yeah.
But he's one of the best edge setters in the league last year, and I don't think there's anyone that's looking at Eli Harold as a player that's on the hot seat right now from within the coaching staff. That might be one of the bigger misconceptions about this roster. I think they were very, very happy with him and what he was able to do. The fact everyone looks to his sack numbers, I think he only had like 25 pass rush snaps last year. He just simply wasn't asked to do it. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with them finding a niche for a guy and something he's very good at. It might be different than what the previous regime had drafted him for, but hey, if he's going to be the best, one of the best edge setters in the league, you'll take that all day, every day on base downs. And so that's the look there. I'm trying to figure out who did I miss. I feel like
Dakota Watson at the linebacker. Oh, Marcus Smith. You think he's going to be okay as far as health-wise?
Malcolm Smith, he's back healthy, 100%. I would imagine he opens the year starting at will, especially without Reuben Foster. And then, I would expect it's either Malcolm Smith and Fred Warner or Malcolm Smith and Brock Coyle.
Okay, and the health status of Eric Armstead, missing the games last year, most of the season. You think he's going to be ready to go? No problem there. And then you also have a couple of rookies to keep an eye on, Contavious Street and Julian Taylor.
Contavious Street, start with him. He's an easy one. He's going to be out this year, rehabbing that ACL. I would imagine, he misses the whole year. They haven't announced it specifically.
Okay.
I would imagine, with the depth this team has on defensive line, they're not going to rush to get him back. They'll just wait till, give him the full year and wait till the next year's offseason program. Julian Taylor, really interesting name to keep an eye on. I think they're high on him. It's a numbers game when you get to the defensive line. And so, can he beat out some of the veterans that are on the team, a Ronald Blair type name? But for sure, a guy that, they'd want to, if they could, keep on the practice squad. Should he not, the numbers not work out and he doesn't make the team. And then Eric Armstead, back healthy, broken hand is 100%. He's ready to go. And he got hurt last year in the Washington game. And, both John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan expressed their disappointment for him, not in him, but for him. And given that they felt things were starting to click for him, he was having one of his better games against Washington before he went down, and all of a sudden you lose your year. So, he's been unlucky with injuries. Obviously, health is the biggest thing for him. He's just got to stay healthy. But they believe in him. Again, I think one of the other misconceptions, I think people are so ready to get him out the door, from a fan perspective and a national perspective. They just picked up his fifth-year option. So, they're ready to, give him some more time and make sure that they're not going to let him go. Again, former first-round pick, until they know, exactly, what they've got there and that they've gotten all they can out of him.
All right, and before I let you go, Joe, Bradley Pinion, is he going to be? Does he have to fight for his job? I mean, he did have it appeared he had his best year last year, and then Robbie Gould was fantastic last year at 37 years old with his first year. So I'm sure the Niners are pretty happy with what they got there. And then, as we mentioned, Pettis and what they could possibly bring back with McKinnon as well. This could be a really good special teams unit, especially if the punting game does their job. Is it a battle, or is Pinion, is that his job?
Yeah, with Gold, pencil him in for sure. I mean, he was absolutely just rock solid last year. And then with Pinion, I would imagine he is. I honestly, it's not been in a position that's been, super talked about in press conferences and stuff like that.
Sure.
I know Jeff Locke is here and he's got experience. And so, I don't want to write off that it's not a competition. So I'll be under the impression that if Bradley Pinion completely flops, then Jeff Locke will have an opportunity to step in and take that role. But I would imagine it's Bradley Pinion's job to lose. Like you said, he had a fine year last year, his best as a pro, and hopefully a young leg like that is only getting bigger, better, and stronger. So I'm not making a ton of it at this point, but, Jeff Locke's here for a reason. They do like to have a left-footed punter during training camp. But we'll see.
Okay. Well, Joe, a great job. I love to be educated, especially for an organization that, a lot of people started paying attention the last 5 or 6 games of the season. But, it's all when you haven't won in a while and you finish in last place for 3 straight years, sometimes you don't really know a whole lot of what's going on everywhere, especially at a place like that. And I know they're going to be a hot commodity this year. So I'm glad you educated me on a whole lot of stuff, and I'm looking forward to checking things out at training camp, seeing this team grow, and I hope to have an opportunity to talk to you again throughout the season.
No, it was a lot of fun. I appreciate you having me, and, look forward to chatting soon.
Thanks, Joe. All right, that's Joe Fan from 49ers.com. Doing a great job filling us in on what's going on with the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, you can only get this kind of information from guys that are around the team as long as Joe has been and follows the team day in and day out. Sorry, it's just the way that it is. And that's the reason why we're doing this stuff. Everybody kind of has, look, if you're a San Francisco 49er fan, a diehard San Francisco 49er fan, and you follow and read everything Joe writes and you just are immense with all sort of Niner stuff, that's one thing. But like I said, look, since Harbaugh left, things have not been good there. If you are not a Niner fan, you don't know what's going on. And sure, you can read box scores and look at ourlads.com depth charts. But it's especially with free agency and personnel changes, it ain't easy. And I'm glad that Joe gave us an opportunity to find out what's going on there. And he did a terrific job. So hopefully we'll get an opportunity to talk to him again when the time's right. All right, we will be back again later on with another one of these training camp previews. Ryan Dunleavy, Giants beat reporter for NJ.com, will join us to talk about the New York Giants before training camp. Thanks for tuning in to the OFN Meeting Room here on the Our Lads Football Radio Network, where it's never too early to think about the start of the 2018 football season. We'll see you next time.